Pokemon TCG Pocket is coming out on October 30th, and it's probably the closest rival Marvel Snap has had so far. According to this graph, Pokemon is the highest grossing media franchise of all time, with a combined total revenue of over $92 billion. In comparison, MCU rests at the number 11 with the combined total revenue of just over 29 billion USD. Not even 30 billion, how pathetic. If done well, Pokemon Pocket can definitely give Marvel Snap a run for its money, if not overtake it in popularity. I managed to play Pokemon Pocket ahead of its global release date by moving to New Zealand. If you want to know how I did it, watch this video. I'll compare Snap to Pocket in the following categories: card acquisition, monetization, battling system, art, and user interface. I will give each game scores out of 10 in every category, and at the end we'll have a definite winner. Everyone who's played Marvel Snap for longer than 2 to 3 weeks can agree that the card acquisition feels like pulling teeth without the good drugs. Cards are drip-fed to us one at a time every week, and there is no guarantee of getting every new card without spending some serious money on the game. The system kind of worked when we only had Series 1, 2, and 3 cards. Going through Series 1 and 2 is mostly a breeze, and completing Series 3 felt painful but doable. Then Series 4 and 5 cards were introduced with the promise of regular series drops. That is, every month or so, cards will drop from Series 5 to 4 and from 4 to 3. That's when collector's tokens were introduced, and you could buy Series 4 cards with 3,000 tokens and Series 5 cards with 6,000 tokens. Players weren't super happy about it, but it honestly didn't feel too bad because you could open a decent amount of tokens from collector's caches and reserves. I think it was between 200 and 600. And series drops also made it more bearable. That all changed when the Spotlight system was introduced. I have to be honest, I do think that the devs tried to make the system feel better, but unfortunately, it did not work out too well. The card acquisition feels worse than ever, with free-to-play players being able to get maybe one guaranteed card every season. If you have a complete collection and some tokens saved up, it's probably doable to keep up with every new card release if you just buy the season pass card and maybe a few bigger bundles a month. For everyone else, it feels absolutely dreadful. New players get overwhelmed with the new card releases, and returning players feel so far behind with no incentive to come back to the game. Once you stop playing for a few months, it feels impossible to catch up with your collection without dropping some serious cash on the game. Another annoying aspect is the card balancing in the game. The devs are very proactive about buffing and nerfing cards as needed, which I am grateful for the most part. Some cards were allowed to run unchecked for way too long, like Loki and Irisham, with everything else in their deck being nerfed by them, while others get changed very quickly. I do appreciate when an overly powerful card gets nerfed, but it feels pretty bad for players to invest their hard-earned collector's tokens or spotlight keys on the card, only for it to be nerfed 3 weeks later without any sort of compensation. On the other hand, a new card can come out and underperform, with very few people getting it, only for it to get buffed 2 weeks later once it's no longer in the spotlight caches. The only way to get it is to spend 6,000 collector's tokens or wait for it to be featured in the spotlight caches again, which might not happen for months and months. I consider myself maybe a little whale, and even I struggle to keep a steady supply of spotlight keys every week to get the new card. My luck is usually pretty bad, and I usually have to spend 3 to 4 keys to get the new card. The fact that there is no duplicate protection for the 4 spotlight cache, and you can get a card you already own even if you're still missing a lot of series 4 or 5 cards, is honestly disgraceful. And the substitute of 1,000 tokens just feels like a slap in the face. There has only been one series drop this whole year, and every new card is now released as Series 5. We now have 63 Series 5 cards, 64 now, and 26 Series 4 cards. I honestly don't even know how new players manage to keep playing the game once they enter Series 3. If I were to start the game today, there is no way I would be able to keep playing once I realize how long and expensive it would be for me to obtain all the cards. For all the above reasons, I am giving Marvel Snap's card acquisition system 3 out of 10. The new player experience for Series 1 and 2 feels really good if you are a casual player. It probably is okay for you to get cards slowly and not care about having a complete collection. But if you are someone who likes to have all the cards and want to play the game competitively, you are going to have to drop some serious cash, or you could just maybe go back in time and start playing the game 2 years ago. Currently, there are 226 base cards in Pokemon Pocket, and after playing for a day and spending around £115 to open 160 packs, some of them were for free. I had 198 of them out of 226. For every booster pack you open in Pocket, you also get 5 pack points, which you can use to buy cards you're missing. Not all cards cost the same, of course. The rarer the card, the more pack points you're going to need to buy it. A common 1 diamond card will cost 35 pack points to buy, a rare 150 pack points, an illustration rare 400 pack points, and hyper rares, the rarest cards in the game, will set you back 2,500 pack points. So if you're missing a common card, you can guarantee getting it after opening 7 packs. You do want to have 2 copies of every base card because you can have 2 copies of a card in one deck. If you are free to play, you can open 2 packs per day. You have to log in every day to get those free packs because once you have those 2 packs to open, it will not accumulate more until you open more. Every pack contains 5 cards, 3 of which are guaranteed to be common cards. The 4th and 5th cards can be anything except commons, but the chances of getting the most coveted hyper rare cards are incredibly low. 0.04% for the 4th card and 0.16% for the 5th card. For free-to-play and season pass players, it won't be too difficult to collect most base cards. Only EX cards are going to be difficult, since they are actually rarer than the illustration rares. But again, if you open enough packs, you could buy an EX card for 500 pack points, an equivalent of opening 100 packs. That's pretty steep, to be honest, considering how strong some of the EX cards are. A member of my community has been playing this game for 4 days completely for free, and they have 141 cards out of 226 already. Pokemon Pocket also puts a time stopper on your collecting and spending. You cannot spend more than 720 Pokegold a day to open packs, so it's very hard to get all the cards on day 1, unless you're very lucky. I opened the maximum amount allowed for 3 days and used some of my pack points to fill a few blanks, and I have all 226 cards, but only 1 copy for some of them. Not too shabby if you ask me. This is not counting the countless illustration rares, full art cards, and immersive cards I've opened along the way. I already opened all 3 immersive cards, and I have 4 copies of the Pikachu immersive, if anyone wants to trade. Trading is not currently live, but once it is, it should become even easier and cheaper to complete your collection. For example, I have 5 copies of Venusaur EX and 6 copies of Marowak EX, but only 1 copy of Machamp EX and Executor EX. Instead of spending 500 pack points on another Executor EX, I'm going to hope trading comes out soon after global launch so I can trade some of my spares for it. This to me seems a lot more generous than Marvel Snap, so I'm going to give Pokemon Pocket 7 out of 10 for the card acquisition system. I'm reluctant to give it a super high score because I'm not sure how the game will handle future releases, but at the moment, it has a solid foundation in place for a healthy card acquisition system. The only thing that would make it better at the moment is making the EX cards a little bit cheaper. 500 pack points per card seems very expensive to me. But on the other hand, once trading comes to the game, it should be even easier to acquire the cards you're missing. Oh boy, where do we begin here? Marvel Snap started off with the promise that you cannot buy cards with money, so it's not pay to win. And maybe that was true at one point, but that point is so far away that you can't even see it anymore. Now it feels like the only way to guarantee getting the new card every week is to whip out your credit card and buy those bundles or gold. See, this is kind of sneaky because technically you're not spending money to buy the cards, but you are spending money to buy resources to help you get the new cards. You buy bundles that contain credits so you can split your cards and get spotlight keys that you can use to open spotlight caches which contain the new cards. Or you buy bundles with spotlight keys or collector's tokens so you can get the new cards. So you might not be directly buying the cards, but you kinda are. The game just makes you think you're not. There are also bundles with variants of a card, which is cool and all. You're buying a variant, not the card itself. But for people who don't own the card, they're basically buying the card because once you have the variant, you can play the card. So again, the whole you can't buy the cards thing is just simply not true. It's becoming more and more expensive to keep up with the game. I have probably spent over £3,000 on Marvel Snap so far, but if I stopped playing tomorrow for a few months, I would find it very difficult and hard to catch up if I were to return to the game, unless I spend some serious cash. Bundles with 1 variant, some credits, and 6,000 tokens, which is the price of 1 Series 5 card, routinely go for £100, and you get 2-3 bundles like this every 4 to 5 weeks. There are cheaper bundles, of course, and those are the ones I've been purchasing myself. There used to be a time where you could keep up with the new releases if you just spent your collector's tokens on Series 4 cards and purchased the Season Pass every month, but that ship has long sailed. It's hard to tell how much it would cost to keep up with the new releases for someone with a complete or an almost complete collection. It really depends on your luck with spotlight keys, but for me, it's costing at least £100 a month without spending my collector's tokens. Another way Snap is monetized is, of course, by selling cosmetics. You can buy variants from the variant store and also avatars, emotes, and borders from the cosmetics store. I'm not sure if anyone has ever spent gold on avatars. I've never done so myself. If you have, please leave a comment below because I would like to hear your thought process behind that. I have no issue with expensive cosmetics in-game at all. In fact, I would be so happy if cosmetics and the Season Pass were the only way the game was monetized. Yes, the borders are ridiculously overpriced, but you don't need to have them in order to win games, which can't be said for a lot of the new cards, at least for the first few weeks of their release. I'm going to give Snap a 5 out of 10 for their monetization system. I feel like it's very disingenuous to advertise one thing and to do another one in practice. If you want to sell cards, just sell cards, but be upfront about it. But I do like the cosmetics monetization in-game. I do hope Snap leans more on that aspect in the future rather than selling tokens and spotlight keys. There are currently two things you can spend money on in Pokemon Pocket: the Premium Pass and Pokegold. Premium Pass costs £7.99 per month and lets you open an additional pack per day for a total of 3 packs a day. This works out to be around 27 pence per pack, which is honestly insane value compared to buying packs with Pokegold. Pokegold is the in-game currency you can buy with actual money, and currently the only thing you can use it on is to open packs. Technically, you use the Pokegold to reduce the time until you can open packs, but it's basically just buying packs. But making it so you reduce timer instead of buying packs, the game is trying to trick you a little bit. Oh, you're not actually buying packs, you're just reducing the timer. But the result is the same. You spend gold, you open packs. As far as I know, there's no limit on how much Pokegold you can buy a day. On day 1, I bought 2 of the biggest bundles, so 1000 Pokegold plus 380 for free for buying the bundle, and on day 2, I bought 1 big bundle. But there's a limit on how much Pokegold you can spend a day to open packs. It costs 6 gold to open a pack, which works out to be around 70 pence per pack. You can spend a maximum of around 720 gold per day. That works out to be around 130 packs per day, give it a take, which is around £90. After spending the max amount for 2 days, I have 221 out of 226 cards, which is honestly amazing compared to my experience with Marvel Snap. £180 is the price of 2 big bundles in Snap, which would probably guarantee me 2 new cards max. It feels refreshing to play a card game that doesn't gatekeep the cards from you. Collecting cards in Pokemon Pocket does not feel like pulling teeth. It can get a little bit tedious if you are close to finishing your collection, but that is when you start using your pack points. Plus, once trading goes live, it will become even easier to complete your collection. I spent £90 on day 3 to try and complete my collection, and I managed to do so after spending some pack points to buy a few EX cards I was missing. If this is a sign of things to come, whereby new expansions come out and you spend £200 to get all the cards, I'll be pretty happy about the monetization system in Pokemon Pocket. If they decide to monetize some cosmetics, that's okay with me too. Of course, it all depends on how often we're going to get a new expansion. If it's every month, then £200 every month is kinda a lot. If it's every 3 to 4 months, then I think the price is quite reasonable, but the meta might get stale without any new cards being injected into it for that long. We'll have to wait and see how they decide to handle the expansions. At the moment, I'm giving Pokemon Pocket 6 out of 10 for their monetization system. It's a lot more generous than Snap, but it's still quite expensive to buy packs, and I don't like that they're trying to circumvent the whole buying packs with gold thing by calling it reduce timer with gold. Again, it feels kinda sneaky. Just call it what it is, you're buying packs with gold. Without knowing how future expansions will be monetized, I'm also unwilling to give it a higher score at the moment. This is the category where Marvel Snap really shines. I absolutely love Marvel Snap's battle design. It's simple and easy to learn, but there's also depth to it. There are 3 locations and you need to win more locations than your opponent in order to win the game. Decks only contain 12 cards and there are 6 turns every game, sometimes 7. There are 2 stages to every turn. During the setting up stage, you and your opponent put down the cards you want to play. And during the play stage, the cards are revealed in the order they were played in, so the turns are played simultaneously. The design is brilliant, and the locations provide variance and endless replayability. The game is deceptively simple, and anyone with or without card game background can jump into it and have fun right away. But you won't be able to master the game straight away. There are simply too many cards, locations, and different interactions you have to learn before you can become a pro. Of course, less and less of that is true now with how much RNG has been introduced into the game, and that's the one thing that really made me like the game less and less. There was always RNG in Marvel Snap, mostly in the form of locations, but more and more new cards have been RNG focused. I'm thinking Loki, Arishem, Blink, Cersei, Copycat, Emperor Hulkling, Valentina, just to name a few. The high variance attached to cards like Arishem now make it really hard to predict the outcome of any battle, which in turn makes the game feel less competitive for me. You can do everything right and still get beaten because of a random card your opponent's Arishem generated. The good thing about Snap battles is that they are super fast. It's rare any game lasts more than 5 minutes, so if you have a bad game, you can just move on to the next one. The problem arises when the meta becomes stale and toxic, and you end up facing decks designed to either ruin your day and not let you play any cards like junk, or decks where there's very little you can do to counter, like Hela. Facing a deck like that once in a while is fine, but if you face them over and over again, it can get old pretty quickly. Another problem is the way cards are released in Marvel Snap. One new card every week means that on the day of the card release, everyone will either be playing the new card or they'll be playing counters to the new card. So a card release day, which should be exciting, becomes the worst day to play that card. These Pokemon metas feel pretty bad and are unavoidable with the way card releases are handled in the game. One of the most ingenious additions to the Snap battles is the actual Snap mechanic, which lets you and your opponent raise the stakes and double, quadruple, and even eightfold your cube rewards. In this aspect, Snap is very similar to poker, where you can raise the stakes, go all in, or fold if your hand is bad. Cube management is probably the hardest part of the game to master, especially if you are risk averse, and it adds another depth to battle gameplay. I'm going to rate Marvel Snap battle design 9 out of 10. I still think it's one of the most fun, accessible, and unique card games when it comes to battles. I took down 1 star because of the aforementioned RNG elements, making it hard to judge games. Cube management is one of the most important skills you can learn if you want to do well in Snap, and cards like Arishem, Loki, Copycat, and others make it very hard to do so. Pokemon Pocket is my first time playing a Pokemon card game. I have heard of the physical card game and the Pokemon TCG Live, but I've always been intimidated by the 60 card decks and game length. I have heard legends that a single game can last over an hour. If you're anything like me and can hold only a certain amount of information in your brain at a time, learning such a big game would mean putting Snap on the back burner and not being able to play both games well. I've only really played PvP in Pokemon Pocket. There are a lot of PvE levels you can complete, but I'm not a huge fan of playing against an AI. It's very boring to me, even if there are rewards to be won. So far, my experience with the PvP has been super refreshing and fun. The game is super simple to learn, and the tutorial guides you through most aspects of the battling system. Pokemon Pocket is a simplified version of the full TCG, so there are only 20 cards in a deck, and there are no prizes or added energy. You automatically generate 1 energy on your turn. Most games last between 5 to 10 minutes long. Unlike Snap, you and your opponent take turns playing your cards, like in standard Hearthstone. Battles do feel a lot more simple than Marvel Snap without the added RNG from locations and cards, but I'm actually really enjoying that. It's a lot easier for me to predict my opponent's power output, and I like that kind of predictability. Of course, there are also RNG elements, usually in the form of coin flips. Those can get frustrating, but you can try your best to avoid them by not playing those cards. One thing that I do want to note is that more often than not, it's pretty clear early on who is going to win the game. If you high roll your hand, you can easily snowball and win while your opponent just sits there idly by and watches their Pokemon get KO'd one by one. That is something that would need balancing by the dev team. Of course, the game is not even officially out yet, so I have high hopes that they will polish it a bit more for global release. One of the biggest drawbacks for Pokemon Pocket for me is the lack of a competitive mode. Currently, PvP matches are super casual with no ladder to climb or rank attached to the players. If you lose nothing. If you win, you get 15 XP points, which is not a great incentive. I would really like more incentive for people to play PvP, which means adding a competitive mode, plus rewards for hitting certain ranks and for winning matches. I'm going to rate Pokemon Pocket Battle's design a 6 out of 10. The lack of a competitive mode is really going to hurt the game in the long run. The devs have mentioned that that's something they're planning on introducing later on. Once they do, my score will probably jump up by quite a lot. At the moment, there's a solid foundation for an amazing battling system, and I can't wait to see what the PvP scene looks like once the game matures a little bit. I have to admit, I do love the art in Marvel Snap. The base cards, the variants, maybe not the pixel variants, and split effects, everything is just beautiful in this game. Coming from Hearthstone, where the art and the whole experience of opening packs and playing basically made you feel like you were transported into a tavern in Azeroth, Snap had a lot to live up to. I tried a few other card games before, but none of them captured the magic of Hearthstone. Marvel Snap comes pretty close to it, the graphics are amazing, the art is stunning, and the only thing I miss about Hearthstone is the experience of opening packs, which I guess is the equivalent of opening collector's caches in Snap, which is honestly a miserable ordeal. And that brings me to the user interface with Snap. Too many animations take way too long, not just in-game, but also navigating the menu and going between scenes. Opening each collector's cache takes at least a few seconds, so if you fall behind on opening them, you can spend half an hour clicking on things just to get a few gold tickets, some titles and avatars, and a few variants. Animation in-game sometimes don't make sense either. Modok triggering twice somehow gets an animation skip, but Wong Odin shenanigans that can take 2 to 3 minutes to sit through don't get an animation skip. Or some newer cards with cool animations make games unnecessarily long because of how often they get triggered. I'm looking at you, Scorn. But overall, Marvel Snap ranks very high in terms of art, visuals, and UI for me. Yes, the UI brings down the score a little bit, but the overall gaming experience is very pleasing to the eye, and there are variants to suit every taste. You like chibi and cute art styles? Check out Scotty Young and Rian Gonzalez variants. You love edgy and cool style? Peach Momoko and Kim Jacinto are the artists for you. If you like spicy art, there's also Artgerm and Mark Brooks. That's why I'm giving Snap 8.5 out of 10. If they fix the sluggish UI, then it can go all the way to 10 for me. When Pokemon Pocket was first announced, I was a little bit worried about the UI, having heard horror stories about how bad the Pokemon TCG Live UI is. But I didn't need to worry, the game runs very smoothly on mobile and the experience of opening packs is delightful. The art styles are not as diverse, but there are different types of drawing styles, all of it absolutely stunning. The full art illustrations in particular are beautiful and opening them always feels like a special treat. Of course, I have to mention immersive cards. Opening them truly feels like a special experience, and the amount of detail in every immersive card is crazy. I think Charizard immersive card is my favorite. It just features so many Pokemon in it, and it's like watching a scene from a movie. Just like Marvel Snap, going between menus can be a little bit slow at times, but the game isn't even officially out yet. Hopefully that's something they'll fix in the future. Battle UI feels really good and seamless, and overall I'm just very impressed with how smoothly the app is running considering it's currently in its soft launch stage. I'm going to give Pokemon Pocket 7 out of 10 for art, visuals, and the UI, at least in its current form. It's a little bit unfair to compare the two games in this category right now because Snap has been out for over 2 years and has had time to accumulate a huge number of variants, while Pokemon Pocket is still in its infant stage and hasn't had time to develop yet. I'm sure in time Pokemon Pocket will catch up in terms of art and visuals and will probably surpass Snap in terms of UI. So, after comparing the two games in 4 categories, which one is coming on top? Marvel Snap scored a total of 25.5 points, whereas Pokemon Pocket scored 26 points. Both out of 40. I didn't think the two would be so close in points. It's pretty much a tie with only half a point of difference between the games. Marvel Snap really shines when it comes to gameplay and art and visuals, with card acquisition and monetization dragging it down by a lot. If Second Dinner were to fix the card acquisition system, the game could easily jump to 30 points out of 40 if not more. The team did mention they were working on a different card acquisition system, and I hope whatever they come up with will be fair to their player base. Pokemon Pocket scored consistently above average in all 4 categories, but I wasn't wowed by any of the game's features so far, except maybe the immersive cards. I think in order for Pokemon to be truly successful, you need to work a lot harder to make the battles feel more complex, and of course to make the PvP worthwhile by adding a rank system and maybe creating an esports scene. game. I'm feeling very hopeful about the game's future, so I'm excited to create more content for it. In fact, I made a whole YouTube channel dedicated to Pokemon Pocket, so make sure to check it out and subscribe to it. Of course, I'm not ready to give up Marvel Snap yet. The game has brought me so much joy in the last 2 years, and maybe it's sunk cost fallacy because I do feel like I've invested so much time and money into the game, I can't just give it up. But I do still have fun playing it, and I really cherish the community I've built around the game. I like some of the new additions to the game, like alliances. It's really nice to have some more sense of the community in-game, but the rewards and bonuses do need tweaking a bit to make them less grindy. And I really like the new high voltage mode, it's an absolute blast. I'll keep creating content for Snap on this channel and stream it on Twitch. I would love to hear your thoughts on this video. Are there any points you really disagree with? Will you be trying out Pokemon Pocket when it's released globally? Let me know in the comments below. As always, don't forget to drop a like for the YouTube algo and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye!